The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency was established in 1949, then known as the Game and Fish Commission. For over 65 years, we've been on mission to preserve, conserve, manage, protect, and enhance the fish and wildlife of Tennessee. With support of hunters and anglers, we've come a long way since 1949, and now your TWRA is working even harder to enhance your outdoor experiences. A great way to keep up with what's going on is to visit our website at tnwildlife.org or follow us on Facebook at Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, on Twitter at TN Wildlife, on Instagram at TN Wildlife Resources Agency. An even better way is to stay right here for an episode of Tennessee WildCast. Join Jason and Doug as they discuss everything outdoors, from the Mississippi River to the Great Smoky Mountains. So now it's time for Tennessee WildCast, live from Studio B at the TWRA headquarters in Nashville. Here are your hosts, Doug and Jason.
All right. Welcome to the show. Hello, Jason.
How's it going, Doug?
Good
to have you back.
Good to be back. Been down to Atlanta for a few days and came back up here and it got hot. So,
it is really hot out there this week.
It is.
Heat index is up to 105, I think. It's forecasted for today or tomorrow, one.
Gonna be hot. Take care of those
one.
critters that you keep outside, right?
Yep.
Keep them cool. Got a good show. Don King's helping shoot today. We're going through small smartphone technology today because we got a big commission meeting coming up and a lot of our equipment's going to be down there.
Yep.
Tony Sanders is our guest. We'll get to Tony in just a second here.
Yeah, we thank you.
A lot of people know Tony already.
Tony being on. Yeah, he's a big shot.
Yeah.
Right? No.
He's a radio personality in Chattanooga. Anyway.
We are live right now, Doug.
We are live on Facebook. Good to have you, everybody. And we're going to be doing more of this down the road. Get a lot of folks in here for you to give you a chance to talk to them, write them, like you do a lot anyway, and a chance to ask questions. And go ahead and tell you, Tony is a commissioner for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission, or Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission these days. Yeah. And one of 13 recently appointed, first time up to the Nashville office, showing them around a little bit. And so, Tony, we really appreciate that you're here.
Well, I appreciate you letting me come in. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you're not quite the guinea pig that we're using today. We did that a couple weeks ago, but we're still working on this Facebook thing. So we're happy to have you here, and we'll get into a discussion about a lot of stuff. This is a commission meeting day today and tomorrow, and it's where folks like Tony come in as representatives of you, the sportsman, and talk about issues that will affect you, the sportsman, and a lot of stuff going on. No setting of seasons today, I don't think. But
no, that was my first meeting.
Welcome.
And
let's throw you in there.
I kind of laughed at the end of it. Chairman Woodson said, "Commissioner Sanders, I hope you come back," because it was 2 days of pretty intense discussions, and the aftermath of it was very interesting to me.
Yeah,
I did not expect that.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun.
And what do you call in the aftermath?
The social media, having my own show and stuff, I'm pretty active on social media.
Right.
And a good friend of mine and yours, Richard Sims, wrote several articles about the commission meeting, and the reaction to people to specifically the elk expansion of the hunts, I thought was rather surprising to me. And I'm not going to take the bait and get into a lot of discussions on social media. I understand the anonymity of social media, but I did finally get on there and say, I appreciate your comments, and I really did, but to think that we made this decision in a vacuum, I think is wrong. I mean, we really had information that may not be out publicly, and so it was, and it finally calmed down, and when people looked at everything, but I think the reaction was more that we had gone against the biologist, and I'm not sure that we really did. It was against their recommendation, but we still felt like, and I think if they had felt like it was going to harm the elk population, they would have said, no, this is really going to be a problem. Yeah. So I think, it's giving back to the hunters, which is what's important to me.
Okay. And remind everyone, if you go to our website, tnwildlife.org, we don't have the hunting guide out there yet, but at the top of the page there's a banner that goes across there. You can click on it and get all the major changes and the dates and the bag limits, including the elk information right there for you right now. And the guide will be out within weeks. We'll be getting it out.
Yep. And you know, there's going to be a lot more opportunities for elk this year.
There are going to be more drawing opportunities, and it's going to be interesting to see how many people get interested in it and how well folks do, if they take archery or if they go with a gun or whatever. A lot of deer season coming up, a lot of turkey hunting coming up. You got the fall turkey coming up before you know it. We got spring turkey then coming back around. But all that stuff's listed out there. The commission and the agency are working together to try to get all that information into one body of work. Right. And that's going to happen in the next year or so, where you'll be able to find duck season or waterfowl season and all the hunting seasons all right there wrapped into one. The turkey season is already in there we used to have its own guide too. So trying to make all that a lot easier. I suppose the fishing season will always stay separate. And we'll have a big book if we didn't do that.
You know, I use the app, TWRA app, and
on the go.
And if you've got a smartphone and you don't use that, you're missing, because perfect example. We were out in the field last year, 2 years ago, and something came up, and I don't remember what it was. And so I said, hold on a second, let me look. So I pulled up the regulations on my phone and saw that it was illegal for my hunting buddy to take the shot. And I said, yeah, you're good to go. But it was just one of those things that I wasn't sure of, and having the TWRA on the go was awesome to have it right there on my phone.
And right there is just a perfect example that the answers are in that book. And we get a lot of questions on Facebook and a lot of other times, coming through. But if you just read that, it's right there.
I've gotten a lot of questions as a commissioner, and I'm like, the guide,
that's your best,
go to the guide.
That's your best option.
When I'm on the air and people ask questions, we go to the guide. I mean, that's how you get the answers. So.
Leave it right there in front of you. And the guide will be out pretty soon. And the app is getting a very nice facelift. It's going to be out in the matter of days or weeks.
Future,
yeah, and it's going to be improved over what it was. You're going to like it a lot. It's going to have a lot more, and Jason and I are happy about this, a lot more information, get you to information to our Facebook and
a lot easier to get
social
to our
media,
social media,
our newsroom, all that stuff is going to be very easy to get to. So keep on looking at that. If you haven't got it yet, download on the go TWRA app. You do a radio show in Chattanooga. You did it long before you became a commissioner for the Tennessee Wildlife, all of us. Right. What got you started in that, and where are you, and what do you do?
Well, you can find it on WGOW and iHeartRadio. We're on every Saturday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. It all started, I've been involved in the outdoors a long time. I've been a hunter safety instructor for over 23 years, I think now.
Very good.
But in my other life, I'm a CPA, and one of my clients had a television show and a radio show. And it just got to the point where it was too troublesome for him to do both. So he gave up the radio show, and I had helped him when he was out on a trip, traveling or fishing or whatever. I'd helped him. But the one thing that I specifically wanted, just like you did when, on your show, I wanted that early morning slot when people were going to the woods or the water. And I started at 6 to 8 in the morning. And I was going to do the first hour of my show and then join in a fishing tournament. And at 5 minutes before our show went on the air, they started the engines and we were leaving. So I looked at my co-host and I said, "Dude, you got it. I'm out of here." So I went and got in a boat and went fishing. And shortly after that, I moved to 5 a.m. And I love the time slot better. Yes, it's early. I get up at 3 a.m. But it's so much better to me to really get to the hunting and the fishing community. And I love it. We just celebrated our 10th year in April, and very excited to continue doing it on WGOW, and they've really been very welcoming. And it all came about because, as I was saying, I wanted that early morning slot, and I was going to teach a hunter safety class in March, and I turned on the local talk radio, and the guy that had been on the air for years wasn't there. And he had gotten into a contract dispute and decided to leave the radio station. And so I just shot him an email and said, "Hey, this is who I am, this is who I've worked with, and I'd like to do a show." And I got an email back 3 days later and said, "Can you start Saturday?" And I said, "No, I can't." So about 3 weeks later, we went on the air live, and it was exciting. And I remember sitting there and turning to my co-host at the time. like at that when that bumper music started, and I looked at him. I said, "What the heck are we going to talk about for 2 hours?" And
we say that a lot, don't we, Doug?
Oh, I come in with show prep, 20 pages, 25 pages of show prep, and I'd read it. I'd read all the articles. I mean, I was really prepared. And nowadays, I stay up on stuff, but I just walk in and said, "Let's go, let's have fun."
Fly by the seat of your pants.
All right, you take calls on your show.
We do, and we have, like any talk radio, you have your regulars that call in. We have a sport talk station, which I think was very important to my show, or a sport talk show that comes on in the evenings from 3 to 7. So it's on for 4 hours. A lot of people listen to it, and so I would be remiss in not thanking them for, same way I found out the show was available or the slot was available. I was listening to their sports show on the way home, get in the car the next morning, it's still on the same station. And so I know that helped us when we first got started, people, connecting the talk radio station to the show. And since then, it's just kind of grown and grown and grown. So
that's
all right.
awesome.
Oh, it's fun. Well, I hope you have a long career out of it. Got some co-hosts that work with you on it?
I do. I'm just my second. Believe it or not, in 10 years, I've only had 2. The guy that started with me, who knows nothing about outdoors, but he was an old radio guy, and used to do radio for Jimmy Swaggart down in Louisiana.
Wow.
I mean, a long time ago.
That's cool.
And but he was there, and he was only going to stay for a couple of weeks to get the show up and going, and stayed for about 5 years. And then my current host is a gentleman by the name of Rob Pratula, who was a guest every year coming in, and I nicknamed him the Trout Professor because he's actually a college professor, and he is a fly fishing expert, fly tying. He's known around the world for his fly tying. And so he would come in, and the first time he came in was graduation for his college. And, of course, we were on 6 to 8, and he had to be there at 9, so he came dressed in his full regalia. And so I made him go out and get the cap and all the mortarboard and everything, and said, and so I named him the Trout Professor, and that stuck. And when Steve decided to leave, I called Rob and said, "Hey, you want to do this full time?" He said, "Absolutely," and he loves it.
I believe his daddy was a professor too, wasn't he?
He was at
MTSU.
At MTSU for many years until his untimely death. And but Rob's a great guy, tremendous fishing knowledge, and that I love to fish, but I would lie to you if I said I was a great fisherman. I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Rob is a great fisherman, and so between the two of us, we have hunting and fishing covered very well. And so it's funny as he's grown in the show. A fishing call comes in. I just back away from the microphone. I just let him take it, and but it works out really well. And like I said, he's been with me about 6 years now, and just having a ball.
Good deal.
Well, it sounds like you're bigger into hunting. What got you into hunting? How'd you get started in hunting?
Well, I'm very fortunate that my dad introduced me to hunting. I'm a bird hunter. That's my I get asked that a lot. If you can only do one thing, and it's going to be birds, whether quail, which are obviously hard to find now, pheasant, whatever the case is. I just love that. But I grew up bird hunting, quail and grouse in the Chattanooga area. Always had Brittany's all my life. That's the only hunting dog I've ever had was a Brittany. I've had 4 now, and I'm actually looking for my 5th. But I started doing that and expanded into dove hunting, and I didn't deer hunt until I was in my 30s. And so I love deer hunting, but I'm so ADD, it really can get to me. So
a lot of sitting and waiting.
I'm a comfortable hunter, deer hunter. I mean, I'm not the hardcore guy, but we eat. My wife and I eat 4 or 5 deer a year. And funny story there is, she actually received a kidney transplant 3 years ago up here at Vanderbilt. And before she got the transplant, the doctor kept saying, your protein's low. You need to eat more meat. Eat more meat. And so he said, "What kind of meat do you eat?" And chicken, blah blah blah. And she said, "We eat a lot of venison." He goes, "Really? You need to eat more venison." And I'm at the visit with him. I said,
Yeah.
"Really? Well, hold on. You're telling me to hunt more is what I'm hearing, right?" And but we do. We eat three to five deer a year, and that's I don't remember the last time we bought red meat. I mean, we eat venison, and the main reason he wanted her to do it is because of the immune systems and stuff related to her kidney disease. It's organic, and he says it's the healthiest meat you can get. It's low fat and it's organic. Eat more of this, and so we really do. I mean, there's nothing that we don't eat venison, and so I tell people I hunt deer to eat, and I hunt birds because that's what I truly love. Mm-hmm. And not as much into duck hunting as a lot of people. I do duck hunt. I go to a couple of hunts every year, but truly, I've gone to Kansas quail hunting. I've gone to South Dakota as much as I can pheasant hunting. It's just the love of what I do. And my dad got me involved in it, and I remembered this is another pretty funny story. On the radio, you kind of get the emperor has no clothes, right? So I've talked about many times that I worked all summer when I can't remember, I was 11 or 12 years old. I worked all summer cutting grass to buy a shotgun. And I bought a Remington 1100 from Service Merchandise.
There you go.
Okay, which I believe was a Nashville company.
It was.
So $275, and it was a lot of money. But my dad had bought from my grandfather a single-shot 410, and that's what I used to hunt, which, as you know, can really wear a little person out.
Yeah.
So I worked all summer and bought that gun, and I still have it to this day. I've moved on to a lot of other guns, but I still keep that one and enjoy it. But it's funny. I got a call the other day from a young man on the air, and he said, "Can I cut your grass?" And he two young guys in my neighborhood, and I'm like, "Yeah, you can." And so when I paid him the first time, I said, "How did you come up with that?" You talk about it all the time on the air about cutting grass to get a shotgun. And this young man's 9 and his brother's 12 or 13. And he said, "We need some shotguns."
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
I'm helping fund their shotguns.
Funding their shotguns. Great story.
Future sportsman right there.
Do you do any of your bird hunting at all in Tennessee?
I do. Oh, I do. I love to hunt in Tennessee. Unfortunately, again, quail is what I really grew up with. And There's not a lot of quail. Where I deer hunt, we have 2 or 3 coveys now, and I'm really wanting to go out there, but I'm not going to mess with them. And I know that they're the chances of them surviving are not great, but they've been there actually for a year now. And we can hear them in the mornings talking to each other and stuff. It's kind of interesting.
That's awesome.
My family, my dad's side of the family is from Carroll County in West Tennessee, so do a lot of hunting down there with them. And I've got family that raises birds to put out, and so we do hunt. So and I do turkey hunt, and I'm addicted to crane hunting. I'll tell you, I am addicted to sandhill crane. It's just so fun. Last year I had double knee replacement, and so I kind of sacrificed my hunting season to get the knees fixed. And but I went out on December 31st sandhill crane hunting, and the place we deer hunt is actually borders Hiwassee Refuge where the cranes are.
Right.
So it's really, depending on how they fly, it's really very convenient. But this is a funny story. Of course, I'm less than a month and a half out from double knee surgery. So I'm trying to walk, and I can't hardly bend my legs, and so I kind of look like this Frankenstein guy going out to the field. My friends were so great. One guy had his car, and he was driving out carrying a bar stool from his house so I could sit, because there was no way I could actually sit in a chair. And we're walking out. My co-host Rob is carrying my ammo bag and a cooler. And of course, he calls himself my Sherpa all the time anyway. But he's walking out through there, and all I've got is my shotgun. Had just loaded it up, was walking out, just kind of almost like you were quail hunting in the field somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I look up, and there's 2 cranes coming right at us. And I just said, "Hey, Rob, crane!" Boom, boom, and they both fell. And then he's sitting there just giving me this disgusted look, because I'm sitting there he's holding everything, and I'm laughing because these 2 big birds had just fallen at our feet. And but we all three limited out that day. But I love the crane. I love the challenge of the crane. The one thing I haven't done is decoyed them yet. So we're actually going to do that this year.
Okay.
And see what we can do.
That'll be fun.
So the ribeye in the sky.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is. We're actually getting together with a good friend of TWRA, Senator Mike Bell, in about a month, and we're going to bring several different cranes up, and we're going to cook them different ways and try them.
Awesome.
Because I've tried them in a pan. I've tried grilling them. I'm not much into smoking. I'm just now getting into smoking meat. But my friend is a smoking guru.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try them 4 or 5 different ways, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
That's exciting.
Good deal. Good.
We have a couple of messages coming in on Facebook Live, and Glenda says, Mr. Sanders was a pleasure to work with and learn from at Highland Sportsman Club in Hickson,
Well, thank you, Linda.
Tennessee, and Hunter Education right there.
Yep.
And Dylan had a question about the upcoming deer season and what the bag limit on bucks is going to be.
So questions coming in about bag limits on the deer this next season.
Bag limits
on the bucks.
The bag limits are going to stay the same this year.
Yeah, they were unchanged.
They're going to change, and nothing changed this year. There's some discussion of maybe changing some of the going back to the way we used to be with the antler, but we're not. We're going to keep everything the same. This year.
Right. The biologist made the pitch that there wasn't enough data yet to make a decision.
Exactly.
It was an anomaly last year, and I can't remember if it was. Yeah, I believe it was does were down pretty significantly, but we look back, and I believe it was 10 years ago we had the same kind of anomaly. So we did listen to them and made no changes. So
yeah, no changes. So be able to get out there and get your, I think it's 2 bucks a year without looking at it, you get your 2. So and that'll be in our guide pretty soon, and just very few changes after a really, really, really long meeting, except in the elk that you were talking about, and that's gave you more stuff to hunt.
Sure,
more
absolutely.
Hunt,
I'm excited. I've put in my applications. I did find it interesting. Somebody asked me the other day what was the most unusual thing as a commissioner. I can't put into duck drawings. I thought that was kind of interesting. All the other drawings are fine, but duck drawings I cannot. Yeah. So I'll have to find some buddies to take me duck hunting.
Sign on with them or something, I guess.
Exactly.
But our guys can't do that either.
Right.
So it's been a long time since they passed that, probably 20 years ago. So I'm not sure I knew commissioners couldn't do it, but
I didn't either.
Yeah. Anyway,
it wouldn't have changed the decision to take
join
the
club. Welcome to TWRA. All right. Well, you got your radio show and you get out and do your hunting and so forth. When you do your fishing every now and then, what fish do you choose? You go with Rob and go after bluegill and crappie and trout, or just whatever?
We do. I love fly fishing and I love trout fishing, but the bass fishing, catfish. I like to go out with Richard Sims catfishing, and probably one of the most enjoyable fishing trips. Richard called me one morning and his trip had canceled, and this was like in July a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and said, "Hey, do you want to just go out and see what we can catch?" And I said, "Sure." We went out and just got worn out with spotted bass.
Wow.
Just small. I mean, I think we quit counting at about 70 in a 2-hour period. Just had a ball. I'm like a kid. I love catching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert. I'm smart enough that if I get suckered into a tournament, that I find somebody that's an expert. I actually won a tournament with a local fisherman. I picked him because he was a deep water guy. I'm a top water guy. I'm real good around the edges and all that, but I don't know much about deep water. And so I picked him, and sure enough, I mean, we're catching fish in 40, 50 feet. I learned about relieving the air pressure so that the fish don't die, and it was very eye opening to go through all that. So I do enjoy all the fishing and brim. I went out with Rob the other day brim fishing, and it's pretty funny to see us in a bass boat fishing with fly rods and catching brim. But we were having a good time. So,
what's the body of waters over your way? You're out of Chattanooga. What do you have there nearby that's so great for fishermen?
Well, we've got the Chickamauga Lake, which is awesome, and of course, just on the other side of the dam, you have the Nickajack, or Richard fishes all the time. Richard Sims is a river guy. But we have the Chickamauga and runs all the way up to Watts Bar, and of course that's Hiwassee. It's where the state record is right now. We're having all these tournaments that are coming in to Dayton. I mean, it's an exciting time there. You know, Bass Magazine just named us one of the top 12 lakes in the country, specifically Chickamauga, and so I mean that's pretty exciting.
It is the site of the state record largemouth bass now,
Exactly.
And a whole bunch of other great big bass that aren't quite that big. 15 pounds and 3 ounces, caught a couple years ago.
Right.
Huge fish, but the lakes are full of other stuff though. I mean, I know it's known for bass, but great bluegill shellcracker fishing in it, crappie fishing.
Crappie,
They're
love
all
crappie
excellent.
fishing. Went out crappie fishing with my son. Slowly getting back now that the legs are getting better. They're still not where I want them yet, but I slowly have getting out more and more. And I went out. My son actually bought a fishing trip with Richard, and we went crappie fishing, and just had a ball. And when the crappie kind of died down, we moved over and started catching catfish. And, just had a good time with it, and that's fun. And
Richard's scenic river fishing is what
Yes.
Richard's. He is a great fisherman over on that river system. He does a good job.
yeah, he does. He does a great job, and I've fished with him several times, and he stays busy now that he's retired. He's staying
Now he's
very
retired.
busy.
Semi-retired, I want to add there, because we hear from Richard every now and then. Anyway, good deal. I'm glad. I'm glad that they've appointed somebody like you to the commission, because the commission needs to be staffed with, and is with sportsmen. Everybody on there loves the outdoors, and you come from that way too, from a love of the outdoors. Are you getting very many calls right now from your constituents? What area do you represent, and have people figured it out yet?
They have now that the calendar has come out.
Okay.
Prior to the calendar, I think they were still calling David Watson,
yeah.
And he would forward them to me and stuff. But now that the calendar's out and my number's in there, yes, I'm getting the phone calls. It's been funny. The first call I got, this was just a few days after I had been appointed. And one of the other commissioners actually gave the gentleman my name, and I didn't answer your question. I represent District 4,
Okay.
which is
We'll get there.
the
Yeah.
10 southeastern counties. But the first call I got was a gentleman about coon hunting. And so it was on a Sunday evening. I was going to grab a quick bite with my wife. And so we walk into the restaurant, and I'm on the phone for about 20 minutes. And, of course, she's ordering, so the heck with you, and ordering. And so we hung up, and she goes, "What was that about?" And I said, "Coon hunting." She goes, "Do you care about coon hunting?" And I said, "Not really, but he does."
Right.
And absolutely, if he does, then I do too. I haven't coon hunted in 30 years, but it's a huge sport. And he was very passionate about what his concerns were, and I listened to him. And I think the one thing, and I'm not saying that David didn't do this at all, because I never had any issues with David as my commissioner, and everybody loved the way David handled the job. One of the things that I vowed to myself, that if you call and ask me a question and I can't answer it, I'm going to see what I can find out, and I will call you back. And I've done that. I did that with him. I actually called him back on the way home from Dayton at the last commission meeting, and told him what had happened at the commission meeting, and that the rules weren't changing, and this is why. And I think he appreciated the fact that I called him back, and so I'm trying to be very cognizant of that. I represent a lot of people that that have no desire to do what I do, and that's okay. And on top of that, we also represent the non-game. And so the balance between the non-game and the hunters and fishermen is something that I got very involved in a few years back, when some people tried to stop a warrior hunt that we were doing at Enterprise South. And so I flipped at that point. Now I'm like, no. And so I got a group of people together, and we went to the commission meeting and presented our facts and why this was, and we there to support. Ben Layton was there from TWRA, so we were there to support him and explain to the commission how important this hunt was. And so, I've always been very active from that perspective, and so I don't see that's going to change either.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that hunt was set up also to support or manage that area? There was a lot of deer
Oh, yeah.
on that area, and now they're no longer having that hunt there, correct?
And no, it is. We are still having
Still
it.
having
We're
it,
actually,
okay.
we're having it this year.
Okay.
One of the things that was said in that, and of course the sportsman backed up Ben, was it's about the biology.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out and they do samples every year and make a decision on the herd. So a few years ago, we went to every other year.
Okay.
And this is the other year.
The
So
other
we're
year,
actually
okay.
hunting this year.
Gotcha.
It's in October. Probably one of the most inspiring things I've ever done a field, besides getting my family involved and youth involved. And now I've got a grandson that's coming along, and I can't wait. I bought him a lifetime license. I can't wait to get him out there. But I guided these guys who were out of the HUA program out of Fort Campbell, which is healing outside walls, or I don't remember exactly what it's.
Outside of a hospital, I think.
Yeah, outside the hospital. So I took these. What we did is we paired a experienced hunter with one of these guys, and most of them had never hunted.
Right.
Most of them got their first deer on these hunts, and it was such an experience. But the part I'll never forget. Of course, we're driving on trailers. They're pulling us by trailers, and we've got the blinds out, and we're coming back, and it's dark, it's cold, and I'm sitting down on the floor of this trailer, and we've probably got a 30-40 minute ride. These guys start talking, and it started out just banter and much that can't be said on the air, but they started talking, and then there was a point in the whole process where their demeanor changed, and then they started really talking about the guys that hadn't come back. We're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. So they started talking about that. Then they started talking about the things they had seen over there, and they're unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, my God, this guy's 23 years old, and he's seen more than I will ever see.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate what they do more than ever. And my grandfather was wounded on Iwo Jima, so I've always respected the military. But sitting there listening to these kids, and I can call them kids because my children are older than they are, hearing them talk about what that hunt meant, because after 10, 15 minutes of talking about being in the sandbox, as they called it, they shifted back to the hunt. And so it was just so interesting to hear. I guess there's probably 12 guys on this trailer with the guide, so we were packed. But to hear them shift back and forth, and I realized that how important hunting was to them. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've done 3 or 4 hunts, and there's stories like that every time, and it's amazing. So I can't wait till October. I mean, to go back out and do this hunt again and meet some new people, and they won't for nothing. Organizations raise money in Chattanooga area to pay for this. Specifically, the Tennessee Valley SCI organization does, and they get out there. TWRA is the one that's actually leading it, and we're out there supporting it. They're fed, they're housed. I mean, it's most of us provide them a gun to use.
Right.
So it's an awesome day. It's 3 days actually.
Right. Sounds good, and we do others. Warrior events across the state, and it's great that y'all doing over there, and a lot of youth events also. Tony, I appreciate you being so involved in all that stuff. You came by way of you keep mentioning Commissioner Watson. Commissioner Watson stepped down a little bit early for health issues, I think, and looks great. Hopefully he's doing okay.
He is doing well, and I think he's pretty much been given a good, clean bill of health. So.
That's great. So let's talk about how one becomes a commissioner. Was Commissioner Watson appointed by the governor, by the House, by the Senate? How did he come about, and then you come about your position?
He was a governor appointment, as was I, to fill out his term. And he actually joined the commission when it changed 6-7 years ago, whenever there was some legislative issues that came up. And basically, I don't know the correct terminology, but the commission was recommissioned in another format. And he joined at that point. Okay. He was appointed at that time. He had only served about 1.5 years, And so he actually got a second term, which if you serve more than 2 years, you cannot be automatically reappointed. You have to come off, and you can be reappointed later, but you have to, if you serve more than 2 years, you're one term and you're done. And that's the way the commission is set up, which I think is good. I think having fresh ideas and fresh blood in there is a great thing. But anyway, David decided he needed to step down for, like you said, for health reasons. And I got a phone call in March from a very good friend of mine, Senator Bo Watson, and he said, there may be an appointment or may be an opening on the commission. Are you interested? And I didn't even hesitate. I said, yes. He said, well, you don't even know what it entails. I said, I do, but yes, we're good. And that was it. I didn't hear anything else. And then about almost 2 months later, I get a phone call from the governor's office, and they are doing their due diligence. They had already done more due diligence than I realized. And so I did an interview with them, and they interviewed other candidates that had been nominated. There were others. I don't know how many. And but through their recommendation, the governor chose me and appointed me on May 11th to fulfill David's term. So I will actually be on the commission. It ends 2/28, right? February, the end of last day of February. So 2021 is when my term ends. So I'll serve almost 4 years. But I'm excited. I've been around TWRA, and actually I've done several things. You mentioned the youth things. As in I think it was Linda said something about Highland Sportsman. Highland is a private club that I'm a member of and have been for 25, 26 years now, and we're very involved in hunter education. We were actually inducted into the Hunter Education Hall of Fame a few years ago.
Congratulations!
And it was, we've taught a lot of youth. We've had about 7,500 graduates come through our program, and so when I was involved there at Highland doing the hunter safety and stuff, I came up with the idea, and I modeled it after Game Day, except I called it Wild Game Day. And I worked with the Region 3 TWRA office, and we basically had a day set up, kind of like a Jake's Day for wild turkey, which most people have participated in, but we did this for everything. We covered deer, we covered small game, large game, bear. I mean, we had it all. We had a bear trap there so the kids could see that. TWRA brought the turkey nets and fired them off, wow, which was really cool. We let them shoot guns. You know, in hunter safety, they shoot BB guns or 22s. We let them shoot bigger guns if they wanted to. So, and the thing that was so interesting is everybody came together. All the firearms were provided by sportsmen. Mm-hmm. You know, so we all know how we love our guns, and so you got 30-30s and 270s. I don't think we went above a 270, but we've got all these people that brought the guns and ammo and provided it to let these youth see what it's like to shoot a bigger gun, and they shot some 22s as well for some of the smaller kids, and we just had a ball, and it was so much fun, and we've done a couple of things. I did something a few years ago that was phenomenal with some girls. American Heritage Life, which is kind of a not a branch of, but a similar organization to the Girl Scouts. Mm-hmm. And they approached me and said, "Hey, can we put something together for girls?" So we had 82 girls from 6 to 15 out there, and just exposed them to all kinds of hunting, fishing, fly fishing, shooting. Archery equipment, turkey calling. Don Ossie from National Wild Turkey Federation, who has got the World Slam, was teaching these young girls about turkey calling and turkey hunting. It was just amazing to see all these girls, and we've got some of the typical girl reaction that was so funny, but they learned so much, and so it's always been about the giving back and the youth and the education, and so I was excited. I kind of looked at my radio show as more of that, giving back, and I do the same thing now with the commission. different responsibilities, but it's still protecting something. As I told, there was an article written when I first got appointed. I said it's an opportunity for me to give back to the outdoors, which has been so good to me, and so I was excited to take the appointment. It's going to be a lot of work. I mean, I kind of, my eyes started rolling back in my head when I saw all the stuff I had to read for just the commission meeting. So it's, it is a lot it work.
And all the people you got to meet.
And the people you got to meet and the calls you got to take and things like that. But it is a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be very enjoyable to really get into all this.
All right. I know we're getting long on time, but anything else that you...
Just thanks for being here and thanks for stepping up and taking the position on the commission, and look forward to working with you.
And Tony, as you go through it, we want to get you back in here and talk maybe more about issues and things that you see like that you'd like to see done for the sportsmen of Tennessee. You're into it early right now.
Yes, so I have no idea what I do yet.
We want to give you a little time, but you're going to be terrific for the commission, and you're going to be great to ask questions to. And I hope you come back in here and let's talk about issues as they happen.
I'll be glad to, and I appreciate it. And thanks for all you've done through the years, and thanks for having me in here. This was fun.
You want to shout out at anybody while you can?
I think I sound like a NASCAR driver. I dropped so many names in the last 30 minutes. I'm good.
You did great. You're going to do good today, and we're going to get you out there and show you around a little bit. Let you show you where the director lives, so you can go in there a lot and knock on his door often. Okay,
that works for me.
All right, good job, Jason. Don King, thank you for shooting that phone the whole time. Got a thumbs up.
Yeah, thanks for watching on Facebook, and I see we got some viewers on YouTube watching as well. So it's been a cool day. It's been a smoother day as far as going live on social media.
Well, get your pro in here, and we're all right.
Yeah, let him talk, and I'll run the controls, and
I'll just sit here. We gotta go.
But anyway, watch our social media: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We're out there, and these shows are out there all the time.
On the Go app, okay? Tony said earlier in the show. It's a great little app for you to look at.
And don't forget about tnwildlife.org.
Oh, just all that stuff, right?
It's all there.
Right, all there.
All right, thank y'all.